Hey y'all, this is Robin, and this is my reflection and summary video to end out the semester for EDL 555. I just have this one slide. It seemed easier to kind of work like this and just compare some of the feelings I had from the beginning. I went back to my first video, the beginning of the course, and my feelings and thoughts now to kind of summarize things. When we started, I was really worried about the depth of this content. I sort of had this idea that I was going to have to memorize tons and tons of case law and just apply these concepts I really didn't know. And I remember doing the first reading and I didn't know what even tort meant, so I was spending a lot of time in front of a dictionary just to try to pour through these. I was just really concerned that this would all be way over my head and I'd just be really stuck. I also had concern over the content in the sense that there's only a little bit that we covered that I was very familiar with and was wondering if maybe I should have already known these things and what was wrong with me that I didn't. So that was a pretty big concern for me. I was excited to learn case law because we touched on a few things in some previous classes just in, I think it was in 551 or 552, when we were talking about the history of higher education in America. And so I knew a very little bit, which didn't end up helping me in the class, but I was excited to learn case law, but again, a little nervous I'd have to memorize tons and tons of material, and I'm not super great at that, so I was a little worried. After wrapping up the class, I mean, kind of these 3 bullets that I can expand on, I feel like I can really appreciate how case law molds federal policies. So policies like the concept of free speech, or when Title IX was developed and affirmative action. Those weren't necessarily, I mean, some of them definitely were not created to benefit higher education. And others, when they were developed, maybe that was a fringe thought, but it wasn't the intention of the policy to necessarily just tackle higher ed. And it was case law that kind of shaped how those laws and policies established by the government could help or hinder, I guess, in higher education, and how we should apply those legal policies to higher education, since we are sort of this weird area that people don't want to touch. So just understanding that it wasn't just that I had to kind of memorize all these cases, but understand how they molded and shaped federal policies in application. That was really helpful. I really appreciated it. I also was able to accept gray areas. That was difficult for me, maybe when we were talking about the free speech class. If you want to be able to speak freely, you have to be open to hearing all different sides. And I think sometimes it's easier said than done, especially right now. So just being able to accept that there are some gray areas with some of these policies. There's places, and I hate to keep using the word areas, but areas of higher ed that case law has not yet addressed. And usually change isn't going to happen until an incident occurs and there's some kind of legal proceeding. So kind of accepting that and understanding it. Also, I do think overall I have a better understanding of free speech on campus, due process, and Title IX handling. My understanding of Title IX handling was somewhat from class, just really having our speaker talk to us about how she handles those proceedings and kind of delving into some examples, but also that's what my paper's about. So I've been able to use our readings from class and a bunch of other research and really come to understand how Title IX evolved using case law and other acts and laws now to help try to attempt, not necessarily, I don't think it makes campus a safer place, but at least has guidelines in place to help students after an event. I really had never thought about due process on a college campus until this class. I'm not sure why. I guess I haven't really been faced with it. You know, occasionally a faculty member would talk about cheating or something like that, but nothing ever really seemed to come of it. So that was a completely new concept to me. It was very helpful to go over that. And then free speech on campus, just because it's such a hot topic right now. And I really didn't know what was okay for students and then faculty. So having a better understanding of that, just so I could be aware of how I should classify things that I'm hearing in the media and seeing on campus, was very helpful. And overall, just the entire class kind of helped me consider some things I hadn't before and give me a clearer picture of how a campus runs related to legal issues.